Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin. Today we are continuing our lectures on Ilm al-Akhlaq, the science of morality, which teaches how to remove those ugly qualities, those bad qualities of the soul called vices, and how to adorn one's soul with moral and virtuous qualities, which are termed as virtues. So, this lesson, we're going to continue talking about the topics of akhlaq as per Mullah Nawraki's book, Jami Sa'adat. So, the human soul, as was mentioned before, has four special potentials or faculties. These four special potentials or faculties of the human soul are related to our topic of akhlaq. So the human soul has many beautiful features, many amazing features. Allah has created this human soul with very much detail, very much potentials. But four of them are very special to us in the topic of Ilm al-Akhlaq. They were the faculty or potential of Aqliya, intellect, the intellectual capacity, the intellectual faculty of the human soul. The second was Al-Ghadabiyya. This is the potential of anger. The third is the faculty or potential of Shahwiya, the appetitive or lust faculty. This deals with your food, your thirst, and your sexual appetites. Fourth, the faculty or potential of Wahmiya. Wahmiya here we could call imaginative faculty. So the intellectual potential, the anger potential, the appetitive and lust potential, and the imaginative potential are four special faculties that are important to us in the topic of Ilm al-Akhlaq, which are found in the human soul, which are found in the human. The purification and the disciplining of each one of these faculties will result in the development of a particular virtue for the human soul. So when we look at whether it's Aqliya faculty, Ghadabiya faculty, Shahwiya faculty, Wahmiya faculty, when we purify this faculty from vice and we discipline it to virtue, any one of these, it will result in development of a particular virtue related to that particular faculty for the human soul. As an example, the purification of the Aqliya faculty, al-Quwa, al-Aqliya. The purification of the Aqliya faculty will result in the development of knowledge and wisdom. When one purifies and develops their potential of their intellectual potential, it will develop the virtue of knowledge and wisdom. And when one develops and purifies the anger potential in him or her, it will result in courage and forbearance. When one purifies and develops the Shahwiya faculty, it will result in chastity and generosity. And when one purifies and develops the imaginative faculty, the Wahmiya, it will result in justice within the human soul. So these four potentials, Aqliya, Al-Ghadabiyya, Shahwiya, and Wahmiya, are four very important faculties in the human soul in which we are concerned with in Ilm al-Akhlaq, in which if we develop and purify properly, we will get development of virtue. And if we don't, then we will have development of vices in us. So here, when we talk about Aqliya and how wisdom is the purification of Aqliya, agrees with the reality of things. A person is not wise if whatever they think in their mind does not have harmony or agreement with the reality of what it is. Wisdom here means an understanding of which agrees with the reality of things. And of course, chastity here means that the faculties of anger and lust are under the command of the intellect. So by wisdom, we mean that by wisdom here, wisdom means an understanding of things which agrees with their reality. And of course, chastity here means the faculties of anger and lust are under the control or the command of the intellect. So here it's important, I should mention, about wisdom, about understanding the reality of things. I don't think it's right to limit this understanding of the reality of things just to this world or to this universe. Therefore, wisdom, we can understand something about Allah. Yeah, sure. Allah doesn't have a limit. So these are like freeing ideas. These ideas that we get about Allah free our mind. That we can't, He's too exalted. Or we can understand realities of things which may not be in this universe. We can get an understanding about those things. So wisdom is we want to say, wisdom is an understanding which agrees with the reality of things. And chastity means that the faculties of anger and lust are under the command of intellect. And courage means that courage is when the faculty of anger is under the control of the intellect. So when it comes to chastity, it means that the faculty of lust is under the command of intellect. And when it comes to anger, when it comes to courage, then it means that the faculty of anger is under the control of intellect. And lastly, what is meant by justice here means a condition when the faculty of imagination at al-quwa, al-wahmiya, is totally under the command of the intellect. So you see, if you notice when we talk about these four faculties, I said wisdom here means an understanding of which agrees with the reality, no matter whether that's in this world or not. But when we came to talk about the faculty of shahwiya, we said that intellect is over it as the commander. When we talked about al-ghadabiyya, anger, we said when we talk about it developing into courage, we say that intellect is over it as a man, as a controller, as a leader, as imam over it. When we talk about imagination, wahmiya, say justice is having imagination. Justice is developed in imagination, and that's because intellect is over the command, is the amir of al-wahmiya. So for this to occur, we must regulate all these faculties. We must regulate al-quwa al-aqliya, al-quwa shahwiya, al-quwa al-ghadabiyya, and wahmiya. We must regulate all these faculties of the human soul under the command of aql, of intellect. Therefore, the occurrence of a fixed state of justice, of adalat, in oneself, The occurrence of a fixed state of justice in oneself, of adalat in oneself, requires all other three faculties to be fixed in the correct balance so that wisdom, courage, and chastity are all present. They're all present. To really give this development when achieved value, one must practically use them as well. So if one were to achieve this, just to achieve it and leave it, that's not really giving it its worth. If you want to really give this development, this endeavor, this achievement of justice in all these areas, real value, then you have to use it practically. You have to practically use them. Hence, these will benefit other people. These virtues will then be in the benefit of others, and they'll be in the benefit of you. And if you set yourself right intentions, they'll be in the benefit of you towards your hereafter. Every one of these four virtues must be practiced to a level and a limit, and transgressing or going beyond these limits will turn a virtue into a vice. So you have to be careful. Transgressing beyond these limits will turn a virtue into a vice. To illustrate this idea, imagine a virtue as a center of a circle. So imagine you have a center of a circle, and you have the virtue right in the middle at the very center. Put a dot right in the middle. Any movement away from the center of this circle would be considered as a vice. And the more one moves towards the edges of that circle, the more severe the vice will be. The more closer you are towards the center, the less severe the vice. The more further you are from the center, the more severe the vice. In light of this, it can be then said that for every virtue, there are many vices associated with its deviation. So for any given virtue, we could say many vices can spring up in association or relation with its deviation from its center, from its virtue. Just like there are many different points around the center of a circle in various different directions and distances. However, to locate the real center of this circle, one requires absolute moderation to remain at this center and to preserve its balance. To attain this is difficult. It's difficult to obtain this, and it's difficult to preserve it. We have in the Holy Quran in Surah 11, ayat 112, Fastaqimu kama umirta wa man taba ma'aka wa la tatgaw innahu bima ta'maluna basir. Therefore, stand firm as thou art commanded. Thou and those with you turn and transgress not, for he sees what you are doing. For what you are doing, Allah is seen. He sees. Innahu bima, very certainly He is with what? Ta'maluna, what you are doing. Basirun, seeing. He's seeing. There's a transinterpretation of the noble ayat. So, however, when we look at this center, we could say that the approximate center is more accessible to people. the approximate center, not right there in the exact center, is more accessible to people. It's more accessible to people who purify themselves and develop their souls. So it may be more, they may reach this achievement, and they should aim high. You should aim to go to the top of the mountain. If you make it to the cliffs or to the mountain sides high up, then you've made it somewhere. You have to aim high and you will make it somewhere. Mola Nauraki, he states that usually this reaches relative to the center. And a person, they acquire a relative moderation. Hence, moral virtues then will differ amongst people. People will have different levels or variations of moral virtues. And amongst between people, circumstances, and even the epochs of time. So we can imagine then this faculty. We can imagine then this faculty that was mentioned. These faculty. We can imagine these faculties that were mentioned as being on a scale, an old scale. Like if you ever seen the old scales where they have a pole and they have two little trays, and they put some weight on one side to weigh what's in the other side. So imagine these like that scale. If it's balanced where both sides are equal, then this will produce virtue. If it's in excess where one side is up, or in negligence, the other side is down to one side and the other is to the other side, then negligence and excess on this scale will be vice. Hence, we have these. We have, as for al-Quhwa al-Aqliya, its negligence would be stupidity. Its negligence would be ignorance, which is a vice. This is foolishness. So the negligence of al-Quhwa al-Aqliya is foolishness. Deficiency in wisdom that is not using the intellect is jahil. It's foolish to understand things. Its moderation, its virtue would be wisdom. Under having an understanding of the reality of things. Its excess would be what they call as jarbaza. It's a kind of exceeding the bounds of intellect, overly thinking, overly meticulous. We'll talk about it in detail later. So this overly meticulous, this is the use of the intellect in an excessive way, hence using it in matters where it is not appropriate or right to use it. It's not right to do so, or using it too much in a matter for which it is not appropriate. As for al-Quhwa al-Ghadabiyya, its negligence would be cowardice. So cowardice is a fear and irresolution in areas where there is no real cause. Its moderation, its virtue would be courage. Like we see in people like Imam Ali, Imam Hussein alayhum salam. Its excess would be irascibility. This is that kind of condemnable anger. Like you may find indications towards that in al-Ghadabu Miftahu Kulli Shar, this kind of narration. So what is irascibility? Irascibility is a reckless entrance into things by anger in which it is not right to do so. Those things are against intellect, aql, and religion. As for al-Quhwa al-Shahwiyya, the faculty of lust, its negligence is lethargy, failure to use the things the body needs. Its moderation is chastity and moderation. It's excess, they translate as rapaciousness, which is excessive use of the sexual and appetitive pleasures and sensual pleasures. As for al-Guhwa al-Wahmiya, the imaginative faculty, its negligence is undue submissiveness, the acceptance of oppression and tyranny. Its moderation, its virtue is justice, and its excess is tyranny, oppression of oneself or others. So its excess is tyranny. So each one of these eight vices that you've seen mentioned above have a number of extensions to them. They have a number of branches, and they have a number of subdivisions which are connected to them according to the degree of deviation from the moderation from the virtue mentioned. Just like that center in the circle, due to the level of deviation from the virtue, there'll be different types of extensions of vices. They are many, so we'll only mention some well-known ones here. Only some well-known ones will be mentioned here. So first we have al-Guhwa al-Aqliya. It can have two types of vices. It can have ignorance or slyness, ignorance or ignorance or this meticulous thinking, which can be further subdivided into many, such as jahal basit, simple ignorance, one who just doesn't know something, and they know they don't know something, or jahal murakab, compound ignorance, where one is ignorant, they don't know something, but they are unaware of their ignorance, they think they know something. We could have perplexity and doubt, which is opposite to certainty and conviction. We could have carnal temptations, which is opposite to contemplation of the beauty of creation. We could have deceit and trickery to attain the aims of shahwa or anger. We have shirk, polytheism, which is the biggest crime and the biggest insult to the intellect. As for al-Guhwa al-Ghadabiyya, which has two major vices, irascibility and cowardice, it has many other, like fear as a psychological state caused by expecting occurrence of a painful event or loss of a condition which is favorable. Lack of endurance. This one indicates incapacity to handle hardships. The opposite here is steadfastness, which means to endure hardships and adversity. Timidity, we have timidity, when we have lack of sense of dignity, hastiness in making decisions and embarking on actions without giving them proper thought. Suspicion about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and about the believers. Opposite to this is the truthfulness in Allah and the trusting the believers. So we have virtues and vices going on here. Anger, which is opposite to sabr, patience, and hilm, forbearance. Revengefulness, opposite to forgiveness. Violence, which is opposite to conciliation and compassion. Ill-temperedness, envy, enmity, self-conceit, arrogance, which is opposite of humility. Disobedience to the one who deserves obedience. These are all these are all vices and virtues that can be associated with al-Guhwa al-Ghadabiyya. The third, al-Guhwa al-Shahwiyya, the vices related to this faculty, the faculty of appetitive desires, are majorly lethargy and greed. And they are divided into many others, such as coveting the world, opposite to zuhud, greed, hirs, opposite of contentment with what you have, coveting things forbidden by the religion, and engaging in illegitimate acts, opposite to wara, treachery, opposite of honesty, adultery, zina, sodomy, wine drinking, etc., and indulging in frivolous, nonsensical talk, and a habit of empty boasting, hasad, which is wanting, hasad is wanting the other person to not have something they have. So like if you see somebody has a car, you want that car. You don't want him to have it. You want it for yourself. You don't want to have something like it. you want to have that car. That is hasad. That is what hasad is. So insulting and degrading people, not being sympathetic and helpful, breaking one's ties with one's family, cursing, backbiting, lying, making fun of people, and mocking, and more. These are all related to our al-ghufwa ash-shahwiya, the faculty of appetitive desires. So these four faculties are very important in our topics of akhlaq. The faculty of aqliya, al-ghadabiyya, shahwiya, and wahmiya. The faculty of intellect, anger, appetitive and lust, and imaginative faculties. So we will continue with this topic in the next lesson. Wa akhiru dawana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.